Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is said that those who will not learn from the past are doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. I think it is important for the people of Zimbabwe for us to look ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves why we are a failed state. And more specifically, what mistakes have we been repeating over and over again that makes us a failed state? What should we learn from the past? That is the question that I honestly think we have failed to ask ourselves. And by failing to do so, we've been our own worst enemies. Here is a quotation from General Sun Tzu of China. He has been quoted throughout history. And I think what he says makes a lot of sense. Strategy without tactics is a slow battle. It's a slow victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. And I think it's coming back to what I was saying before. We have not been diligent in our focus on the problems, learning from the past. And that has been one of our biggest problems. I would like to ask you to listen to this video where the ancient Greeks identified 2,500 years ago that there are three types of human beings. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've only got to adapt it. I think that is a fundamental truth.
There are always three kinds of people in any given society. This threefold distinction has been noted and made by notable sociologists and public intellectuals. But this threefold distinction of the three kinds of people, it was first identified and first stated by the supporters and founders of democracy in ancient Greece. For the Greek people, the people who in many ways gave us the modern civilized world, for the Greek people, the first kind of people in any given society are the idiots. For the Greeks, the idiot is not necessarily someone who is mentally deficient. Rather, for ancient Greek people, the idiot, they said, is someone who is a totally private person, a totally self-centered person, and a totally selfish person. They called him the idiot. The idiot, he is always out for his personal gain and his personal interests. He does not have a public philosophy. He has no knowledge, no skill, no character, and no virtues to be able to live and to be able to contribute in a flourishing society and community. He's all out for his personal pleasures and for his personal treasures. And the Greeks said that the idiot was just an upgraded barbarian. The first kind of person, the idiot. But the Greeks also said that there is a second kind of people in any given society. And the Greeks called these people the tribes people. When we say tribes people, we don't necessarily mean the fact of belonging to a certain tribe, which is a good thing. But when they use the word tribes people, the Greeks meant a tribal and a tribalistic mentality. And the Greeks said that tribes people are those people who are not able to think beyond their small tribe or their small groups. For tribes people, their primary allegiance, their only allegiance, and their ultimate allegiance is to their tribe. Their tribe is their God, and their religion is tribalism. And tribes people, the Greeks said, are always afraid of things that are different, that are a little alien to them. They are always suspicious and fearful. And they always dealt with different people and difficult situations with intimidation, with force, and with violence. And the Greeks also said that the ideal person for tribes people is the warrior, because tribes people are a war-making people. Their ideal is the warrior. But it was not so for the Greeks. For the Greeks, there was another kind of people, another kind of a person, and that was the ideal person. And the Greeks called this ideal person the citizen. The citizen. And here when we use the word citizen, we are not talking about legal status or political status. We are talking about the idea and the ideal of citizenship. And who is the citizen? The citizen, according to the Greeks, is someone who has the skills and the knowledge to live a public life, who is able to live a life of civility. The citizen recognizes that he or she is a member of a commonwealth and thus strives for the common good. That is the citizen. The citizen, yes, he or she knows his or her rights in a society, but he or she also knows his or her responsibilities to society. The citizen can fight for his rights, but always with an awareness of and with a respect for the rights and interests of others, of their neighbors, of the smallest of minorities, and of the worst of their enemies. And it is citizens, the Greeks said, that make up a civilized society, because citizens settle their differences with civility. So they produce a civilized society, a society that truly lives up to the name, to the meaning of the name society. Society literally means friendship and friendliness. That is the threefold distinction that the Greeks have given us.
Thank you very much. I think if the truth be told, we have failed to produce a stable, civilized Zimbabwe. There cannot be any doubt about it. The present instability in the country has disrupted everything. We have found ourselves going round and round in circles. I've said on this platform that Zimbabwe is a failed state. It is a failed state. And I think one of the reasons why is that we have not taken the trouble to know ourselves. If one was to ask Zimbabweans out there, of the three types of human beings, what percentages would you allocate to the various groups in Zimbabwean society today? How many do you think would be idiots? How many would be tribesmen? And how many would be citizens? Even with the explanation of what an idiot is, a tribesman is, and a citizen is, many Zimbabweans out there will struggle because they haven't even thought about things like that. I started this video with a quotation from a Chinese general. One of the most frequently quoted of his quotation is him emphasizing the need for people to know themselves. He said, if you know the enemy and know yourself, victory will not stand in doubt. However, if you know yourself but don't know the enemy, you'll probably win every battle and lose another. If you don't know yourself, don't know the enemy, you're bound to lose. You will lose every time. I think we have not stopped to learn to know ourselves. I would like to say that in Zimbabwe, we are a failed state because the majority of the people out there are either idiots or tribesmen. We have got very few citizens. We've been caught up in this. One of the things that the tribesmen do is try to dominate. Our politics have been a politics of domination. We have to dominate the other side. Whereas somebody with a citizen mentality would know the sheer futility of the endless battles to dominate others. Because as much as you fight to dominate somebody, no one wants to be dominated. And therefore, then they are fighting to stop you dominating them, or better still, for them to dominate you. If you look at what has happened within ZANU-PF itself, that has been what has been raging on ever since the country's independence, factionalism. If Mugabe was not fighting to dominate PF SAPO, he was fighting within his own party so that he dominates everybody. And Mugabe was very good at divide and rule. If there was no faction in the party, you create one and try to get the two factions fighting each other all the time, competing with each other. And see him sitting at the apex. The tribesman mentality has been the dominant mentality in Zimbabwean society. And if we are serious about moving out of this failed state, we have to seriously look into moving as many of our people as possible out of the tribal mentality to have the citizen mentality, where the emphasis is on the good of the people, of the nation, and not of the party I belong to, much less of the leader. The good of Rome must dominate the glory of Caesar. You cannot make that quantum leap if you've got a tribal mentality. And in some cases in Zimbabwe, the tribal mentality has become so dominant that people have elevated some of our leaders to the status of demigods. They cannot accept that those individuals can do any wrong, which is, of course, nonsense. These are mere mortals. Why are you making it appear as if they can do nothing wrong? These are mere mortals. The argument that has been raging on the last 2 years about whether Chamisa lied when he said he's going to plug the vote rigging loopholes is shocking, to say the least. Surely we know what constitutes a lie. If I say A is equal to B, and then it turns out that A is not equal to B, then I lied. And in this particular case, to say I've plugged all the vote rigging loopholes, ZANU-PF is not going to rig the elections, Triple C is going to win big, I am preparing my cabinet because God's plan will never fail. People believed it. And then it turned out that ZANU-PF blatantly rigged the elections. And for us to be saying then, to pretend that Chamisa had not lied, is, to say the least, shocking. Of course Chamisa lied. And it is that tribesman mentality that is blocking us from making that quantum leap of saying you're right. Yeah, Chamisa lied. Some people have said, why are you dwelling on it? I'm dwelling on it because as much as Chamisa lied, what matters even more is the very fact that he is going, because you don't believe that he lied, he's going to lie to you again tomorrow, and you'll believe him again. And that is exactly what happened. In 2018, for the elections, Chamisa stood up and told the nation that MDC Alliance had stringent measures to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. People believed him. They participated in the elections believing that MDC Alliance would win because they have stringent measures to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. Day after the voting, Chamisa himself was the one who was saying ZANU-PF rigged the elections. How anyone can deny that he had not lied beggars belief. He said A is equal to B. And then it turns out that A is not equal to B. That is the definition of a lie. And yet some people stubbornly maintain that he has not lied. And so 5 years later, 2023, he lied to the people again. He told them this time Triple C was going to win big. He was preparing his cabinet. Plani ya Mng'are haifoiri. People believed him. They participated in the flawed elections. They gave ZANU-PF legitimacy. And now when we say Chamisa did lie, they still refuse to accept it. Again, I come back to what the Chinese general said. You should know yourself. And we are refusing to know ourselves. We have got the majority of our people with, at best, a tribesman mentality. And we are stuck with it. We have to change if we are serious about ending this ZANU-PF dictatorship. Those who do not learn from the past are destined to repeat the same mistake over and over again. Those who do not know themselves are bound to lose the battle every time. How long are we going to keep on losing the battle of life? The country is up to its eyeballs right now as a failed state. How long are we going to allow this to continue? Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.